But we're all here now.
We solved all the world's problems while you guys were gone.
Did you?
I really appreciate that.
Are you kidding? I think we've discovered more.
Dick, since you solved them, there are more.
Yeah,
Oh,
maybe that's
exactly,
it.
yeah.
Okay, let's see what we've got. We got a quorum. I've got Lynn, I see Dick, I see Heather, and Sandy. I saw you a minute ago.
I'm here.
Oh,
There you
these kids.
go. Hi, Sandy.
Hi.
All right, so let's call the
And you
Finance
too.
Committee meeting to order for Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020. And again, quickly, let's go around the room. Jean, actually, if you don't mind, let's start with you for all present.
Jean Lovett, Finance Director, Town Accountant.
Next.
Dick Vandenberg, Finance Committee.
Lynn Mazzulli, Finance Committee.
Carol Goggles.
Heather Moore, Finance Committee.
Oops, sorry.
Hi, Carol. Hi,
Hi,
Heather.
Carol.
We got you both.
Sandy Kuipers, Finance Committee.
Hi, Sandy and Howard D'Amico, Finance Committee. Do we have anyone else?
I saw Mike Hutnick's name, but he disappeared.
Well, that's happened before, I suspect. All right. So, Jean, on our agenda for this evening, the first thing we have actually is an update or discussion regarding the budget.
Yeah, I don't really have anything new to add. I did keep that on the agenda in case there was anything that you wanted to discuss after the joint meeting last week. Howard, I want to thank you for your support and the opportunity to allow me to speak. It was very helpful. You know, it didn't change the outcome, but at least my voice was heard one more time.
Well, and I also thought the committee was pretty supportive across the board. We'd had that meeting a week or two earlier as well to try to get on the same page.
Yeah. So thank you.
So, Jean, you're welcome. So, Jean, with no town meeting until at least September, is there anything you can report to us, at least in terms of timing, of when we may see new numbers from the state that will start to fill in the last gaps that at least Board of Selectmen had been particularly concerned? 4 members of the Board of Selectmen had been concerned about enough to postpone town meeting?
Yeah, I have not. And I was talking with Dick a little bit before the meeting. I believe we're going to be one of the few towns in the valley that are not having a town meeting. So I think most communities are going forward with probably the House one of some version of that to hold their town meeting in very unique ways. And again, I'm a little disappointed we're not having ours, but with that said, you know, we'll probably, my guess is, get numbers in July. We will not have anything in June. I would be very surprised. So we're going to be submitting a budget to the state that will require the DOR to allow us to deficit spend. And the budget is, they call it a 1/12, but it's really not that. So we have to give projections for July, August, and September of what we anticipate spending. They have to approve that. And then eventually we will have to have a town meeting to appropriate the funds to cover that.
So that June, July, August, September spending will occur really without any town meeting vote initially and without any vote needed from finance, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And
So really, you're spending money without knowing the revenue number.
I understand. And normally by June, having already had a town meeting, you know, covering the next fiscal year, we would essentially go dormant for the summer and even somewhat into the fall. Here, I'm trying to get a gauge for everyone of when the next time, you know, the meetings that we usually run in March and April, to have a town meeting in early May some of them we had, right, in January and February. We have to have, what is that meeting called in early April? We
A public
typically-
hearing.
Yeah, so we have to still have a public hearing well prior to town meeting.
Yes,
Um,
I will get the calendar from Suzanne. She took the tentative date of September 12th and she backed up, she backed it up so we can get the deadline. So I'll put that on my list to get to you, Howard, of
Okay,
when we need to have information for the flyer and the public hearing. So I'll send that to, I guess I can send that to the whole committee tomorrow.
that's fine by me. I think that I would like to run this evening's business with an eye toward trying to have my second meeting that ends in less than an hour after running my
Okay.
campaign on a pledge to have 1 hour or less meetings. So I'd like to run tonight's meeting with an idea, Gene, toward having our next meeting, not until probably mid-July.
Well, I may need you to meet at the beginning of July because again, I put together as many of the intra-departmental transfers, but I really have to close the year and I may need the finance committee to meet again if I need a reserve fund transfers, if something unforeseen or extraordinary happens or I need to do. I've tried to handle as much as I knew today, but if we can set a tentative date at the beginning of July, that would be very helpful. Or even
Okay,
the very end
yeah.
of June.
and so what is June 30th is 4 weeks out. I think it's tougher to do the July 5th or 7th week. If we look to June 30, Gene, is that useful or do you need it to cross over into July to have a little more familiarity with math?
Let's do June 30. I'll put that in my year-end letter to the departments. And then if I really needed something, I'd go back to you and say,
Yeah, I think that the group is pretty well set these days that if you told us you had certain transfers given the circumstances that you needed us to convene, and we needed to try and find 5 folks that could get together, particularly where it's Zoom, where people are getting comfortable with Zoom, we should be able to do that. So why don't we shoot for next meeting, June 30, with the idea that, I see Dick's vote, and with the idea that the next one after that might be, late July or mid to late July, with the idea that we'll not try to inconvenience people too much in these midsummer weeks, as we, have tried not to do in the past.
I think we have, when we stopped meeting, we were pretty far through the budget process. We were at a good pace this year because we didn't have a lot of snow. so
Right.
it helped. I mean, we heard from the larger departments. We were able to speak with them. I didn't know if and you guys can have time to think about this, whether you needed any departments brought back. I guess the question is if the revenue picture came in or if the revenue picture came in less, would you support the use of free cash? I mean, those are the questions I think you have to kind of think about before the July meeting. But hopefully, I don't think we'll have revenue numbers by June 30, but hopefully by that July meeting, we will have revenue numbers.
Well, the group we might look to see once more would be to have Heather meet with herself to see the school committee.
Okay.
Heather, can you do that? Double duty?
Oh, she's muted.
Okay.
She's muted.
Now, normally, folks, we would have a changeover of our officers at this point because we would have had the town meeting by now and we would be heading toward next fiscal year. I will
Howard,
leave it
that's-
to
That's not on the agenda, so we would have to put that on the July agenda.
Well, so I think in terms of it's on for new business. Did you
I
see the
think-
new?
I think you have to put that one clear under reorganization.
Well, hold on. So I want to talk as new business about whether folks want to consider switching some of the, I suppose, leadership positions at the next meeting or meetings, or want to run through the September town meeting and then have a vote right after that.
That's what I'd like to do. That sounds like a good idea, Howard.
Say that again, Carol?
I said, I think that your idea is wait until after the September meeting is a good idea.
Run with the same team and structure through this budget, even if it takes till September?
That's what I say.
You're it, Howard, until the end.
Yeah, as my daughter would say, I want to do not it, but why don't we keep it the same until we get to September, unless anybody has an objection? Okay, so let's run through, Gene. I think most of the rest of the meeting, and you've sent us intra-departmental transfers, June 2. Does everyone have that available?
Yes.
And Gene, can you walk us through, do you need one? And I saw that you need a vote to authorize the chair later to sign. But do you need one vote? Do you want to pitch each one of these individually?
I'll do one general pitch, but I would like them voted individually.
Okay,
Okay. As I explained, this is not a reserve fund transfer, so this does not have to be for an extraordinary or unforeseen circumstance. So this is a little different. What I did is I met with the departments and we reviewed where they were and what they would possibly need through June 30. There's no guarantees, but because of the situation we're in, I didn't want you guys to have to meet more than you needed to meet through the end of June. So I have the first one, and I'm hoping you have them in the same order. Some of them are going from salaries to expense within the same department. So in the case of town clerk salaries, 500 from the salaries to 500 in expense, and she just needed to increase her expense because she wanted a poll book voted check-in. Highway admin, highway did not fill a position, so they had 30,000 available. So I used that as a funding source for some of the others. So you see highway admin to public building maintenance. Adam took a hit in his department this year. Some of it's related to COVID. We had some buildings cleaned. We had some of that stuff. I will be seeking reimbursement from either FEMA or the Massachusetts CARES Act, but I didn't want to hand tie the departments yet. So I funded it as if I may not receive the entire reimbursement. So my request for the public building maintenance was 10,000. Highway admin to highway admin salaries to highway admin expense. Again, some of that is due to the cleaning of their building. Some of that may be reclassed into either a FEMA or a state reimbursement for under COVID. But again, I just didn't want any trouble with the department. Highway admin to highway maintenance. That one was, they had some repair work done on some of their vehicles. So we needed to replenish that account. And again, it's just going from salary to expense. Highway admin to monitor wells. There was additional well testing. That was a small amount that was given to me today. So I don't really have a lot of information other than it was something that they needed to do. A company that was doing some additional reporting requirements. Building inspector expense to building inspector wages. That department's running very tight right now. And if they needed any 24/7 operations, such as, if Mark has to go out to do an inspection that are off his days, it just gives him a little flexibility in the amount of hours. He's paid on an hourly basis. This is where I went away from the highway admin as a funding source, and I went from health insurance to civil defense. Civil defense is where we're paying for most of the COVID. So the way I'm charging it is if it fell within a department such as public building, police, fire, ambulance, I set up a COVID line within their departments. The civil defense picked up expenses like the community food outreach program. So we had to pay for salaries for the cafeteria workers to run that program, the transportation to run that program, the food that was not covered under the donation account. That all fell into the civil defense line. So I'm using the health insurance as a funding source for the salaries and for the expenses as well on that. With the civil defense, we will not be able to seek reimbursement under FEMA or the Mass for any employee that is reassigned to work on a COVID project. For instance, my assistant worked for the community food outreach program. I can't seek reimbursement for her because we would have budgeted for her under my department. So in that case, the town will be paying some of these expenses and we will not be receiving reimbursement for that. So I did put some monies for those purposes in there. And I think that's it in a broad, scope. So if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Gene, I have a question about the DOR. I asked this at the selectmen meeting too. Are they looking over your shoulder much during this time, or are they kind of letting you do your thing?
In what way, looking over my shoulder?
Well, in other words, in terms of the processes that you do and just the way you figure stuff out, are there guidelines in place already? They trust you to do it the way you see fit? Do you feel nervous about the state, or is the procedures pretty well known, I guess?
I think it's new for all of us. I always take a conservative approach with anything I do. So if you look at my documentation, I have a spreadsheet, I set up a COVID line, I'm making copies. I'm trying not to put in anything that I think would be kicked back. So if there's something like the community food outreach program, if the reassignment of employees, I'm not going to try to submit that knowing that they're going to deny it at the end, because that doesn't benefit any of us. It creates a mess in a bunch of other ways, because now I've transferred the money into another fund and then they're going to deny it, and then I'm not going to have a funding source for it. So I always try to be conservative in my approach with accounting. I think my reputation with DOR is that, they know that about me. So I don't know that they're looking over my shoulder. I do look for them for guidance. I'm an ask permission as opposed to ask forgiveness. Howard, that's a good thing in my position.
It is.
So I have communications with the auditors as well as with DOR. I would rather ask permission than to find out I did something incorrectly.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think,
and I'm a self-reporter. So if I do something, my rep will know, hey, I announce it to the world, like I messed up, or, should I have done this differently? So, I think to me, it gives me credibility with them. They know I'm not trying to pass something by them. I think they respect that because, as far as I'm concerned, they have my back. If they tell me no now, I'm not going to try to slide it by them.
Okay, thanks, Gene. That helps. Appreciate that.
Anyone else?
So I have a question. Like you mentioned, the cafeteria workers, and I don't know what's like happening at schools if schools aren't meeting. Are we still paying salaries to like cafeteria workers, or?
The school, and Heather can speak to this now that she's on the school committee, but the school committee voted to pay for the wages for employees for their normally scheduled hours. So the paras, the cafeteria workers were paid as if they were working. I am not paying them twice for working the outreach program. So they are paying part of their normal scheduled hours out of the municipal side and part out of the school side.
Okay. Thank you.
Jean, a quick question before I open up for motions. Jean, on the form you sent that's been circulated, if you would take a look at the upper right box, it says transferred from. Should that be transferred to?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Good catch.
Yeah, well, as we vote, I think it's important.
Yes.
All right.
The copying and pasting is not always your friend. And
It's not my friend.
yeah, it's not my,
So with that in mind, anyone else with any questions for Jean on any of these before we start to entertain motions and votes?
I'm sorry, I have one more question.
Sure.
So, okay, so they're talking about in the fall that schools won't be starting up again. Less hours again. Will there be, and we may not know this, will there be another vote about what to do with salaries or with furloughs or with paying our staff? Is that going to happen?
on the school side, again, I would direct you to Heather. I don't know if they've had that conversation. I think most of us are under the hopes that it's going to open on schedule.
I'll just add that it's on the agenda for school committee on Thursday.
Okay. I'm
But
just,
until the state comes it down, I mean, there is guidance. It's 60 pages long.
wow,
We're gonna get a new superintendent in.
yeah,
We need to have him come in, make recommendations, but that there's been no decision made from that point without having a budget. We
right.
don't know what our actual number is going to be, so that's part of the process too, because, I know the school committee was asking for 1%. Are they gonna get 1%? Probably not, because we don't have a budget.
Hey,
How
guys.
deep is it going, the cuts gonna be? Don't know, without having a real budget to have a real number.
Sorry to interrupt, but this FinCom or school committee?
FinCom.
Well, it has.
Oh, good.
it-
All right, I saw Heather, but I didn't know
You're
who was
asking,
still here.
but
That's what happens when you're late.
Howard, you're always talking, so when I didn't hear you, I was like, oh.
Oh,
Touche.
So everything remains status quo, basically.
as much as status quo can be until we have a definitive number,
Okay, and
until
not
it
just,
comes down.
okay, and that's not just for school, it's for everything within the town.
Right. I mean,
Correct, I would say.
until we received, the cherry sheet number, we can't give a solidified number to any of our departments.
Right.
So I think that is a big thing. Well, and the other side of this, not only the cherry sheet number, but how much of free cash we're willing to spend. I think those pieces may go hand in hand this year.
Okay, then I'm sorry, I still have another question. As far as like job postings go, is every job that's open in the town, is that posted on the website, or is a school job posted at a different place than, because I'm kind of wondering what's our a rate of like not having enough staff currently? Like, they talked last time about that it's hard to fill positions. I'm wondering how many positions we have open.
I know Highway is going to have some open because, like I said, they didn't fill a position last year, which is why I have 30,000 to transfer.
Okay,
So I know they'll be looking to fill a position. I believe the school department also, they advertise on School Spring or Spring.
Yeah,
So-
that's it.
I'm sorry?
School Spring.
okay.
Um,
So every open position in the town is advertised in the same, or is shown in the same place, or it is shown in different places?
Well, the school in town is shown in different places for sure.
Okay.
I don't know of any municipal, non-school department that will be hiring with the exception of highway and maybe water sewer.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't see any change or in staffing. I don't.
Anyone else?
And just,
Bill, we are
I just
looking
wanna-
at,
I just want to add one other thing. Those would not be new positions. Those would be positions that we hadn't filled when we were supposed to in FY20. It's not like we're looking to increase our employee count. It would be just bringing it back to a place where we should have been.
Okay. Thank you.
Phil, we are currently looking at Jean's intra-departmental transfer listings.
Yep.
And she's walked through each of those, and in a moment, I think we're going to look at some motions. She's asked that we vote on each transfer request independently. So I would entertain a motion to approve the transfer of the $500 from town clerk salaries to town clerk expenses.
So moved.
You have to second it, don't you?
Second.
A second? Hi, Mike. Dick has made a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Got it. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jean, are you satisfied if at the end we do one motion to approve the chair's authorization to sign?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Let's move to the second item. I will entertain a motion for transfer of highway administrative salary funds in the amount of $10,000 to public building maintenance expenses.
So moved.
So moved.
In a second,
Second.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? That's approved, as is the first one. I will entertain a motion to approve transfer from highway administrative salaries in the amount of $3,300 to highway administrative expenses.
So moved.
And a second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that's
Oh,
approved.
and I know you're going on a good clip here, but if you can identify the first and the second for Mary, that would be awesome. She's gonna have trouble because I think they're answering or at the same time.
I was really hoping Mary was going to be able to do that. All right, we'll slow that down, and I appreciate that request. We'll cover that. So I will entertain a motion to approve the administrative salary transfer in the amount of $2,800 to the highway maintenance expenses.
So moved, Dick
moved.
Vandenberg.
I recognize Mr. Vandenberg's motion and a second.
Second, Mike Hutnak.
Second.
I'll recognize Mike's second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That's approved. I will entertain a motion to approve a transfer from the highway administrative salaries in the amount of $1,300 to the monitor wells.
So
So
moved.
moved, Heather.
I think I got Lynn first there, Heather. Heather, would you like to second that?
I will
I recognize
second that.
Heather's second. All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? That
Aye.
motion is carried. That motion is carried. I will entertain a motion to approve a transfer from the building inspector expenses account in the amount of $500 to the building inspector wages account.
So moved, Mike Hutnak.
I recognize Michael Hutnick's motion. Any second?
I'll second that one, Howard.
I recognize Phil Andrews' second. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion is approved. I will entertain a motion to transfer health insurance funds in the amount of $8,000 to the civil defense expenses.
Second, Dick Vandenberg.
I recognize Dick Vandenberg's motion.
I
Any second?
Second.
I recognize Lynn's second.
Hey,
All those in favor?
Howard, before we vote, can you just clarify that for 1 second on me? The civil defense fund it's going to?
So, Gene, if you would, for Phil, do you have a minute to explain both this one and the second one relating to the COVID numbers, the civil defense money?
Sure. We put anything that was not related to a specific department under civil defense as it relates to COVID. One of the things is the community outreach program. So the transportation, some of the food that was purchased prior to the donation account being set up, the cafeteria workers, and some of my assistant that was budgeted under a different department, but reassigned under civil defense. So this is just putting monies in this department that doesn't normally have a large budget to cover some of these COVID expenses. Some may be reimbursed from FEMA or the state, but I don't have a guarantee yet. And I want to have a sufficient amount in there to cover those expenses if they're needed. If not, they'll just close free cash at the end of the year.
No, very clear. Thank you.
You good, Phil?
I'm good.
Okay. I think we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. I will entertain a motion to transfer from the health insurance account the sum of $18,000 to the civil defense salaries account.
So moved, Dick Vandenberg.
I recognize Dick Vandenberg's motion.
Second.
I didn't catch that one.
I seconded it.
Lynn, thank you. I recognize Lynn's second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. I think there were a total of 8 transfers here that were approved this evening. I would entertain a motion to authorize the Finance Committee Chair to sign the necessary documentation for the town to process those transfers.
So moved.
So moved, Dick Vandenberg.
I'll recognize Dick Vandenberg for speaking up and saying his name to help me on a motion. Any second?
Second, Mike Hutnick.
And Mike, I recognize your second. All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
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 Opposed? That motion is approved. Jean, does that cover your need procedurally on those this evening?
If it does, I just need to set up a time where we can have you come to town hall to sign.
Okay, and we'll do that the same way we did last time. I'll shoot you an email in the morning. I won't be able to make it in tomorrow unless it's critical.
Nope,
It'll
Thursday's
probably
fine.
be Thursday.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. So why don't we move to the minutes? And we've got some catching up to do on minutes. I don't know if people had an opportunity to take a look at the minutes prior to the meeting, but we can take a few minutes to look at them. I have the January 28th minutes available. Does everyone have a copy of those?
I'm
Yes.
looking for mine in my email. I misplaced it.
I can't figure out how to go to email while I'm on this, but I looked at them before.
What is that?
This meeting was pre-COVID, when we all could see each other in person. A long, long, long time ago, it seems.
What date did you send it, Howard?
I sent it to you.
I think they actually got sent by Jean. Jean, I think you also sent them as recently as today, correct?
I did send them today.
Yep. And you can find them from Jean. I think mid-morning, maybe. And Jean, I certainly appreciate that you copy everybody directly at this point.
Hopefully did I put Phil on the list?
not-
Yeah, no, I got both of your emails. I'm just trying to figure out which one's which.
Sure.
Did
there
you
we
say
go.
January 28th was the first one?
January 28th, Phil.
All right, thank you.
And to Gene's point, this was back when we were meeting with department heads and going through their portions of the proposed budget.
I do have one other meeting that I did not send. I have to go back and that's the one where you had an executive session. I have to fill in some time. So this was
Okay,
almost caught up.
okay. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the January 28th meeting minutes?
Mm-hmm.
I will
You
entertain a
guys said
motion
this
to,
was the one where we had a closed session or an executive session? On number 9?
Oh, I'm sorry. I pulled the wrong one. I'm going to ask you not to vote on this one.
good catch, Phil.
I thought it was the 14th.
So Gene, does that mean because of section 9 here, without that filled in time, we can't, you don't want us to vote on January 28th at the
I
moment?
do not. I do not.
Okay,
I can,
So we'll
let me
move
see if I can find well, I can't because I think no, I just had meeting minutes. Let me see if I can find the 14th while you go through the other ones.
I think we had 2 executive sessions, Gene.
Did we? Is that why? I was
Yeah.
I thought we had 2. That's my memory. 2 different topics. So
Uh,
let's look at the March
yes.
10th minutes. Boy, that's pretty impressive. A lengthy discussion was held.
I'm not sure I'm seeing the March 10th ones.
They're all in a string.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I scanned them all as one document.
Okay, I see. Sorry about that.
I will entertain a motion to approve the March 10th minutes.
So moved, Dick Vandenberg.
I recognize Dick Vandenberg's motion. Any second?
Second, Lynn Mazzulli.
I recognize Lynn Mazzulli's second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the March 10th minutes are approved. And then we've got May 12th meeting minutes.
This was video conference, right? Yes.
Yeah, had to be.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, it says it on there.
Somebody's got the TV on in the background.
Yeah, that's me.
What are you watching, Lynn?
I'm not. It's in the other room. I'm in my office.
Okay,
That's the living room. I can go turn it off, Dick. I just didn't want to
that's
leave the
okay.
meeting.
It's
I'm
okay.
surprised they're not hooked onto this.
Yeah, my wife thought this was great until she had to go do the dishes.
Till she what?
Had to go do the dishes.
Oh,
I will entertain a motion to approve the May 12th minutes.
So moved. Sandy Kuipers.
Sandy, I will
Second, Dick
recognize
Vandenberg.
Sandy's motion. In a second,
Dick Vandenberg, second.
I will recognize Dick's second. All those in favor?
aye.
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 All right, I'm
Opposed?
going to turn off the TV, Dick. It's driving me crazy.
It's
Those
okay,
are
Lynn. It's
approved.
okay.
let's go to the May 19th minutes. Hmm. I will entertain a motion to approve the May 19th minutes.
So move, Dick.
I recognize Dick Vandenberg's motion,
I'll second, Howard.
and I recognize Phil Landry's second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Kozowski, I will abstain because I was not there.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Recognized. That motion is approved. Jean, are there any reserve fund transfers for this evening?
There are not, but I just sent the January 14th meeting, if you wanted to check your emails, or do you want to wait till the next meeting?
Let's wait till the next meeting.
Okay. I'll put that one in the 28th on.
Right.
So Howard, do we have a date for our next Zoom then? Is it the end of June?
I think we'll go 4 weeks out from tonight, Dick, to June 30th, if everybody can make that work. June 30th at 7, we'll send out an agenda, probably a couple weeks from now.
Where are we going?
Pardon?
I just asked, where are we going?
We should go somewhere, right? We should all have a beach in the background of our Zoom feed,
Yeah, we're in lockdown, bro.
right? The Douglas Finance Committee will travel.
I got one.
See?
we're
Carol's
going to
ahead of
Carol.
us.
There you go. Let me move over.
Good for Carol. Carol's right on it.
I've been looking at your view, Carol. It's nice.
There you go. So is there any other old or new business?
You guys, one quick question. You guys may have covered this in the 20 minutes that I was not actually present. Is there any update on any hint or inklings of how things are moving along as far as receipts from the state and like you said, the cherry sheets? Is there any kind of feeling on that, like higher or lower than Matt was estimating, or? And you obviously, if you covered it, just 2 minutes is all I'm looking for.
Jean?
And there has been no additional update. We're
Okay.
still waiting, but as I explained, we don't typically have cherry sheet numbers until July anyways. But I think the state is busy with the COVID information. I don't know that I don't expect anything this week. What we're working on is we're one of the few, I think we're the only town in the valley that's not having a town meeting. So we need to present some kind of budget through what they call Gateway to DOR for them to approve deficit spending. So I think that's where, my time will be spent for the next or so, because they don't know how long it's going to take for that process. So they want that as soon as possible.
And Jean, again, in 4 weeks, we may have a little more information there.
I hope so.
And, as you said earlier, you anticipate you may have more of these intra-office transfers by then as well, to keep helping you administer things as we wait for a town meeting.
Yes, and I do appreciate that you're willing to meet again on June 30.
Okay, no, I think we can all make this work.
Mhm.
Anything else, anyone? Thank you all for participating tonight as well. Appreciate it. A motion to adjourn?
So moved, Dick.
Dick, I recognize Dick's motion to adjourn. Any second?
I'll second, sure.
I recognize Phil's second. All those in favor of adjournment at 7:48, Jean?
Oh, that's a good night.
Howard, this is a record.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is approved. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Have a
Thank
pleasant
you.
evening.
Aye.
Have a good month.
See you, everybody.